WWE Deadline 2024, and it's your boy Icon with some more of the wrestling, going over that NXT pay-per-view, the last pay-per-view of the year, because they brought that up 50 million times. And again, it's your boy Icon, and we're here to talk about the wrestling. Before we get started, again, happy holidays to everybody. It's cold outside. Like it or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check out my other reviews, like my Survivor Series War Games review, which is up on my channel. And let's get started and talk about a little NXT, because there was no pre-show tonight, and I don't like that. Actually, I didn't see a pre-show. There wasn't a pre-show on Peacock. I watched the show late. I didn't get a chance to watch it on time. There wasn't even a post-show, which was very disappointing. But that's it. But there were some things about the show that was both yay and both nay for me. But we'll talk about all that right now. And let's get started with a little action. So the show opened up with the men's Iron Survivor match, and I thought that was a little strange because usually the men would close the show. But c'est la vie. It turns out that Eddie Thorne, he got injured on NXT because I forgot something happened to him. He got pushed. He got some fight happened and he got hurt during a fight. And then Ava said that she would find a suitable replacement for him. The match had Javon Evans and had Wes Lee with his new haircut. I think Wesley looks better with the locks in his hair, but I will say this, him having the haircut does make him look like a heel. So I will say that. The other two participants in the match was Ethan Page and also Nathan Frazier, who's performing double duty tonight. So as the match progresses, it actually, we wanted to kick it off into high gear. So it started with the young OG and it started with Wesley. So the two of them were going back and forth. And I like Javon Evans, but a lot of his spots, the boy's still, I think he's 19, 20 or something. So, but I don't know, just a lot of his stuff doesn't look clean just yet. And I'm not even sure if it's him not so much being able to perform it, but he does a lot of things that nobody's really done before. And I think his competitors often, they don't know how to react to half of his shit. But it does look good when he is able to execute it. Nathan Frazier did a thing where he tried to go through the ropes, and I think, and I don't, every time somebody dives through the ropes, the heels of their feet always hit the ropes, and it always kills their momentum. And I hate that spot because it never works. Sasha Banks was the master of going through the ropes, because whenever Sasha would go through the ropes, or Mercedes Moné, she would turn her body to the side a little bit to make sure her heels don't hit the damn ropes, and nobody else does that. Everybody tries to go straight forward, and either the top of their heels hit the rope, or their feet get hooked on and then it ends up looking bad. But anyway, the good part about this match was, in the end, the fifth and final participant, the one that was taking the place of Eddie, was the returning, the ruler, Obafemi, and I immediately got excited because that's my boy. And we haven't seen him since he lost the North American Championship to the Don, which was bullshit, and he never got his rematch. So I guess instead, because they even tried to say at one point, Vic Joseph on commentary, he was like, oh, somebody, it might have been Booker T, or one of them made a comment about him not earning his way into the match. And I'm like, that's cap, because he's the former North American champion and he never got his rematch. So because he never got his rematch, the least they could do is put him in the Iron Survivor. And plus, he was the fifth participant in the Iron Survivor match, which means he didn't get a chance to have as much time as everyone else. So he comes in, he does get a pinfall immediately. Everybody got a pinfall. Those all tied at once. Certain people were getting pinfalls. Ethan Page was making a big deal out of going into the cage or whatever. But in the end, Obafemi ended up getting a double choke slam on Nathan Frazier and on Wes Lee. He got a double pin, and I've never seen anybody get a double pin before in the Iron Survivor match. He got a double pin, which put him over, but as soon as he got that double pin, Javon Evans came off the top rope and hit him with the cutter, but time expired, and now Obafemi, he's the number one contender. And there was that moment when Obafemi was North American champion and Trick Williams was, NXT champion, where I guess Obafemi was leaving the ring, Trick was coming, the two of them stopped, looked at each other, and then walked away. So that was a little preview of what was to come, because now that's the match that we're going to, well, spoilers. That's the match that we're going to get at some point, which is Obafemi fighting for the heavyweight championship. And I'm happy about that, because he deserved to take that next step, because honestly, he shouldn't do the North American championship anymore. Ethan Page said in an interview, he was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. now. Ethan Page can go after the Don and he can fight for the North American Championship. And I'm looking forward to Trick. And Obafemi said in an interview, in a post interview too, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna face Rich Holland or Trick Williams, and I hope it's Trick." And I'm like, "What you trying to say about? Like, you trying to say like Trick's an easier like victory? That's fucked up." But yeah, listen, but it was the men's match was good. You know, even Nathan Frazier, like I said, he was pulling off the double duty and everything. He's supposed to be in the tag team match, but like I said, but kudos to all 5 men involved, and I'm happy that the Rula is back in NXT. Lexis King did a whole promo about how much he's not going to be like his daddy, and for some reason he keeps talking about his daddy. For a person that wants nothing to do with his family lineage, you bring it up all the time. I'm just saying. Whatever they're doing with him, they need to hurry up and get to it, because I'm really not liking where this is going. But anyway, the next match was the NXT Underground match, Lola Vice versus Jada Parker. And I like both of these women. They already did the match where I guess they did it on Jada Parker's home turf, because she's supposed to be from the hood, she's supposed to be from the streets, OTM, like, and all that stuff. She fought Lola Vice in a street fight, and she beat Lola Vice in a street fight. This one now, it's on Lola Vice's turf, because she's a former MMA, competitor in the UFC. They went through her entire history credentials, like in the pre-video. So this was supposed to be like her match. And although this was supposed to be like an MMA style match, it was kind of still a wrestling, because Jada Parker's like, I ain't doing this MMA shit. Like, she kept going, she was going for holds, she was going for slams. Like, she was trying to pick her up. She was like doing all this crazy shit. She even tried to cheat at the end. Like, she tried to bring the brick in at the end and still hit her with the brick. But Lola Vice ended up catching her with the back fist. And the problem with being an MMA wrestler who relies on their MMA gimmick, you either have to go all the way with it or not. Because too many times she goes for that spinning back fist, and instead of her actually hitting the person in the cheek, she kind of hits them in the chest or hits them like in the collarbone. And I feel like her swinging at the collarbone is going to be worse, because she could damage somebody's collarbone. You're better off just back fisting somebody in the cheek, because at least if you hit them in the cheek, you can kind of bend your hand a little bit to make sure your hand kind of like slides off their cheek versus like a full-blown impact. But in the end, the match ended because she couldn't knock her out. Like, she couldn't get the knockout blow on Jada Parker, but she ended up getting her in a submission, and then Jada Parker ended up passing out. And when it was over, Lola Vice was celebrating. She didn't do the dancing when she came to the ring, so that was good, because if you're supposed to be going to war, like, you shouldn't be dancing. So she didn't do the dance thing, but she was excited when she won. But noticeably on the floor, they showed Jada Parker, who was sitting on the floor, and she was noticeably upset. She looked like she was ready to cry. She was like pounding, like the ring apron, because she was upset. And I like that, because you should be upset. Like, I don't like the thing where, like, when people lose, they just walk off as though, like, it didn't affect them. She was, like, visibly pissed, it's like that she lost. So now the two of them are tied 1-1, and they both fought on each other's turf. So I don't know what the hell the third match is going to be. Maybe a last woman standing, maybe a cage match. Well, they already did. They never did a cage. So I don't know, maybe a cage match, maybe a last woman standing. But I like the two. We are, at the very least, we're going to get one more match. And I like the two of them together. I feel like between the two of them, if they do have one third and final match, Jada Parker should go over, because if anybody's going to take that step to either becoming a champion right now or getting called up to the main roster, it would be Jada Parker over Lola Vice. So Jada Parker, in my opinion, would most likely win that match. But I look forward to seeing what this third and final match between them is going to look like. And because both of them look good. Like, if you watch their matches and there's nothing about their matches that appeal to you, there is something wrong with you. We'll just leave it at that. Like I said, but kudos to both women and to Lola Vice. They said she's 3-0 in NXT Underground matches, so that's pretty cool. And we'll see what happens on NXT on Tuesday. Next up was the men's tag team championship match. It was the No Quarter Catch crew versus Frazier and Axiom, and Frazier looked beat from head to toe because he got bloodied in the Iron Survivor. He had like tissue all up in his nose and like band-aids all over his eyes, which he should, like he should be physically like beat up and should look like physically worn out. So I didn't have a problem with that, but if I'm being perfectly honest, I really didn't care about this match because, I only would have cared had the No Quarter Catch crew actually won. Out of all the tag teams in NXT, my favorite tag team to watch, the one that I'm looking forward to the most, is OTM. OTM did show up during the match, but they didn't do anything. They just showed up. The referees tried to stop them from getting to the ringside, and then they left. But I don't like Nathan Frazier and Axiom. It's like they're exciting and everything, but it's not even that they win all the time. I think I'm just at the point where I'm just like, the two of them bicker so much. I'm just ready to move on because to me, there are other legitimate tag teams. Like, let's focus on the actual tag teams. Like, let's get these other tag teams out there. Let these other, there's a whole they had a whole tag team brawl with the entire tag team division, and we're still focused on these same two guys that don't even want to tag together because they keep going after singles goal. So I think I'm just ready to move on from the two of them at this point. But hopefully, because OTM were the one, Nathan Frazier and Axum, they won the match. But although, OTM were the ones that came out and interfered during the match, I hope that means they're the ones who will eventually take the titles off of Frazier and Axiom. But we'll see what happens. But like I said, they won. Kudos, and let's see what OTM can do coming up later. Next up was the NXT Heavyweight Championship match. Trick Williams versus Ridge Holland. Did anybody honestly think Ridge Holland was going to beat Trick Williams at NXT Deadline? I mean, he looks intimidating. He has the physique. He got the new ring gear. I can buy him as an NXT champion. But tonight just wasn't the night. For some weird reason, when Trick Williams came out, Booker T didn't do his usual, like, what, I like it. He did it at the end of the match, but he didn't do it when the match started, which I thought was a little strange. But, I mean, there's really not much to say about this because now that Obafemi is the number one contender, we're getting Trick Williams versus Obafemi for the NXT, Heavyweight Championship, which I want to see. Problem is, I'm not ready for Trick Williams to lose the belt just yet. But if you're gonna put Obafemi in the ring versus him to win the title, Obafemi should definitely win that belt. So unless Trick Williams is about to get caught, and they did do the thing where they said that because of the Netflix deal that starts in January, the Raw, SmackDown, and NXT rosters, they said all the GMs are in talks to move the rosters around to see if people are going to get called up or if trades are going to happen. So if, like, Roxanne Perez is already getting called up, we'll talk about that in a second. But if this is true, if Trick Williams loses to Obafemi, then and I can't even really say it. Between Obafemi and Trick Williams, whoever loses this match is getting called up when the Netflix thing takes place, and then we get all the new people that's supposed to show up. Because both of them are ready for the main roster, like, in my opinion, but we'll see. Like I said, but Ridge Holland lost. I don't know what's going on with Chase U because we haven't even brought the Chase U thing yet. But I said, but your man Trick Williams is still your NXT Heavyweight Champion, and I like it. And then finally was the Women's Iron Survivor match. And this was a little lackluster for me, like, I can't lie. And part of the reason why that was, there was no Jada Parker. There was no Lola Vice. There was no, I'm not a fan of Sol Ruka. I'm really not. There was no Kalani Jordan. The Meta Girls weren't involved. There was no Cora Jade, no JC Jane, you know what I'm saying? So the people that was in the match, it was basically the three new people that they brought from the independent circuit, Ren Sinclair, who's not a threat whatsoever, and Sol Ruka, who to me is overrated. Like, I don't like, she has one good move. Yes, the Soul Snatcher is good, but I don't like any of Sol Ruka's, like, the whole surfboard thing where, like, it's dumb. Like, that, like, Sol Ruka belongs in AEW because she does, like, goofy shit. And it's like this match didn't have the names for me because what you're doing here, you're substitute again with Ren Sinclair was only in the match because somebody had to take all the pins, and Ren Sinclair took all the pins. Sol Ruka was in the match just so she could do a double Soul Snatcher. That she's like the Kairi Sane of the Iron Survivor. Kairi Sane was only in War Games just so she can jump off the damn thing in a trash can. Sol Ruka was only in the Iron Survivor so she could do a double Soul Snatcher off the corner. This whole thing was about Zara. It was about her. It was about Julia with a G and the other girl, the one that don't speak English. Those were the three people that was the focus of this match. So you knew the winner was going to be one of those three. But what I don't like about it is, why are we sacrificing homegrown popular talent for people who just got there? It's not fair to them. Kalani Jordan should have been in this match. Cora Jade just came back from injury. Cora Jade should have been in this match. I don't like that because what you're saying is we spent all this time like building these stars, building this homegrown talent, and then we're just going to sacrifice them to some random people we just pulled off the internet. We pulled off the internet. And I'm not saying that Valkyrie and Zahara and Julia, I'm not saying they're not good. But it's to me, it's just like with the Women's United States Championship tournament. The first ever Women's United States champion, it should go to somebody who's in that mid to lower card. It should go to somebody where we can make a new star, we can build a new name, we can have a new popular wrestler by putting the belt on this person. It should not go to a Bianca Belair. It should not go to Bayley. It should not go to Tiffany Stratton because Tiffany Stratton has the Money in the Bank. If anything, you should use one of those girls in the finals to put over the person who's going to eventually become champion. That belt belongs to an Elektra Lopez. It belongs to a Michin. It belongs to a Blair Davenport, someone like that, where winning that belt, a Chelsea Green, where winning that belt will pull that person out of catering and catapult them into a higher stratosphere. My pick for the tournament is Michin, but right now we got Chelsea versus Bayley and Michin versus Tiffany, and Michin and Chelsea should win those matches because you should not have to sacrifice someone who that belt would benefit from just to give it to someone like a Bayley who doesn't need it. Like, she doesn't need and that's my whole thing with this Iron Survivor. Julia, Stephanie, Valkyrie, they don't need it. Like, they don't need that. It's too early for them to get that. They need to have feuds with other girls, have feuds with regular girls. This opportunity should have gone to, like I said, either one of the Meta girls. It should have gone to a Kalani Jordan because she just lost her United States champion, her North American title. So catapulting her to the heavyweight title would have been a good thing. Like, it should have gone to a Cora Jade. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody like that. So, but Julia won the match. Like, Julia won the match. And now I feel like, because they said that the championship match, the women's championship match, is going to take place at New Year's Evil, which means it's time for Roxanne Perez to finally lose the belt because she already fought Julia at a previous NXT pay-per-view, and she beat Julia thanks to Cora Jade. And I guess for them, that was too soon for them because they were just like, well, the girl just showed up. This is her first match. We can't have her win the belt in her very first match. So they let her lose, and now she just fought her way to get back to. You're not gonna have Julia wrestle this girl twice and not win the second time. So Roxanne Perez is about to lose that belt, and she's most likely going to get called up to either Raw or SmackDown when the Netflix thing starts. But I mean, that was the women's Iron Survivor was the only disappointing thing of the whole show for me. Well, that and the tag team match. Not because I didn't think the work was good or anything, but those just weren't the people that I felt should have been in that match. And thank you for tuning in, because that was how this particular show ended. So yeah, overall, I mean, my favorite match was honestly like the women's underground match, followed by the men's Iron Survivor. This is the second time now, because even with the Survivor Series, I thought that the men's War Games match was better than the women's, and here the men's Iron Survivor was better than the women's, which is rare for me because I usually like the women's ones better. But you know, kudos to every single person involved in the show. This was the last show of the year, and that's crazy because outside of Saturday night's main event, which is going to be televised on NBC, we're not going to get another wrestling pay-per-view, you know, an actual like wrestling PLE until February. So 2 months of no PLEs, but we're going to get plenty of action on television. So I look forward to watching it and reviewing it with all of you. So check me out on social media. Check me out on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, and YouTube, where you can leave your questions and comments and concerns. What did you think about this particular WWE PLE, this NXT PLE on Peacock? And share your thoughts, and we will continue to talk about it. Like I said, check out my Survivor Series War Games match, you know, War Games review. I got my whole War Games review up there, and we'll keep rolling on because I got other stuff, because the series finale of Superman and Lois will be up on my channel soon, and I'll also have my first 2 reviews for that Creature Commandos, because now we are definitely in the James Gunn universe. So that was it, you guys. So thank you for tuning in for some more NXT action as we continue to talk about the wrestling. Look out for the deadline. Be the Iron Survivor, because we're out this bitch.